Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're coming to you with another episode sponsored by Gray Fox Games. So yeah, it's podcast time.
It's podcast time.
It's podcast time.
Indeed. So last week, I made a fool of myself talking about things before we talked about what we've played. So we're just going to dive into what we've been playing.
What could have happened in Texas over that last week?
No idea. No idea.
What could have possibly gone wrong?
But yeah, so let's dive into what we've been playing. Jeff, what have you been playing?
I have played a significant amount of effort put into the games I've played. Where do we start? We're going to start in the middle. I'm going to talk about one game, and then I'm going to talk about a second game. First game I'm going to talk about, short, it's the Grizzled. As is tradition, Zach and I played most of our games.
All of my games
are
Jeff
ones that I also played, yes.
Yeah.
So we played a game, and then we wanted a short game to play before our time was done of hanging out, and we chose the Grizzled because it played 5 players. So the Grizzled is hard at 5 players, and then we lost. Paul, as is tradition, got Tyrant, so the first player token didn't move, but I don't think it ever actually affected anything, because I think we gave him support that same turn.
Yeah, the only time we were able to successfully give support was when he got rid of that.
Correct.
So that's good.
And the rest of, I think we went 6 rounds, no support happened.
Yeah.
Successfully. And then we lost, because I think Paul died. Because
Paul had 4 hard knocks.
Yep, and was dead.
Yep.
Zach did the strategic withdrawal, which lets him take a card out of his hand if you're the first person to withdraw, and put it on top of the Trials deck, which I was then handed, which was Fragile, which I then had for the rest of the game until we lost. And that is the one where other players can't disengage or whatever.
Yeah.
If they have any cards in hand, which is almost insta-loss on every mission, top to bottom. Like, if you play Fragile, you have to be the last one in the mission, and you have to have it immediately supported off of you.
Yeah, either that or, like, you get it, and then you immediately, like, I'm just going to have to withdraw. Because once you withdraw, people don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yep.
And I had that in my starting hand, but I also had 2 rain cards that the first thing that people played were like, all right, I'm going to play this rain, and I'm going to play this rain. And I looked at my hand, and I was just like, God damn it.
Yep.
And it was an easy mission where if somebody used their good luck charm, they could get rid of 2 items instead of 1. And it just never worked out where 2 of the same thing were out that somebody could get rid of.
Nope.
So then I strategically withdrew, and then I put that on there. And then I got dealt 2 more cards, which were, you guessed it, more rain cards. So I had 4 rain cards in my hand. And there was I think it was the next mission was, it's raining. And then somebody played a rain card, and I looked at my hand, I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And I had to withdraw again. It did not. Yeah, 5 players is definitely the hardest on this one because of how quickly you can just be like, I can't do anything this entire turn because you guys played cards.
Yep. And so we did that for like 6 rounds, and then we were done. The game was over.
And Paul did make a good choice in he did play the 4th hard knock. It wasn't like he was forced to or anything, but it was selfish. So the chance of him being able to get majority support was pretty good with that. It just did not work out that Eric, who was to the left of him, because he was absent-minded, did not have any support tokens to give him. I gave him one, but then no, it was that you, Jeff, you had withdrawn, and so you had one out. But then Thursby had to play a card because he was hard-headed.
Which, if he had 2 or more cards in hand, could not withdraw.
Yeah, and he had cards that he had to, like, in any of the cards he played would cause us to fail, and you had to randomly give out your support, and it did not go to Paul, and so we lost.
Yep. It's great.
Fun.
Yeah, that's the Grizzled.
Yep.
That is indeed the Grizzled.
It's a bright, fun time, top to bottom.
Yeah. What else have you played, Jeff?
So today, I got together with a fellow Denverite, who was also a game designer, with a successful Kickstarter that funded back, I don't know, a million years ago or so. I had originally talked to him back in May, I think. We couldn't remember when that happened because time has no meaning. About his game Urgency. And so today I met up with him and we played his successful Kickstarter and based off of the ancient game of and we played through a game and went through over the creative process and stuff like that. And at the very top, it's a good game. It launched back in May 22nd of last year, 2020. It was originally a $6,000 goal. He ended up raising $23,000 for his game. And over 500 backers, he was able to successfully deliver a copy of a board game based off of the ancient game of that is 5,000 years old. So we played through a game. He has designed the game to be modernized, as his Kickstarter even says, a modernized ancient game. It is basically a race.
Okay.
You have 15 spaces along the track. The first 4 are sort of on your side, and the last 3 are on your side, but the middle 8 are sort of competitive. It uses D4s that are 50-50s, if that makes sense. So 2 sides of the D4 are blank and 2 points, and the other 2 points have a mark on them. And you roll 4 of them. You have 7 tokens. You can move one of your tokens that many spaces.
Okay.
So you're rolling 0 to 4, basically.
Yes.
And you can't land on the same space as one of your own, and to score, when you hit that 15th space, you need to hit it on the dot. So if you get a point, if you get a space next to it, you need to roll 1 to be able to move into that score space. If you roll a 4 and you're 3 spaces away, you can't just move 3 and wait there. You have to move another piece instead.
Okay.
And you're racing to 6 of your 7 tokens scored. So you'll always kind of have that 7th piece to sort of fight with. Because if you land on the same space as your opponent, you take that piece off the board, barring one space that is shared at the center of the center track. I kept calling it a lotus 1,000 times. It is a rosette.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and he was like, I actually called it a lotus when I first started designing this, so that is appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah, so I kept calling them lotuses over and over and over and over. But it is a 8-pointed flower, I guess. On the board, there are various, they almost look like die facings, like 2, 4, 5,
right.
But they are various, symbols. And that is actually 1-to-1 from the ancient game of
okay.
So that is what that game looked like.
Cool.
And that's why they are there. There is actually pictures of what the game looked like, and extremely well preserved for being thousands of years old.
Yeah, because they found it in tombs and stuff, really well sealed up tombs full of treasure and things.
Yeah.
So.
And so even the tokens you're playing with that look like a 5 on a die facing, they're round, but that's what the tokens looked like 5,000 years ago. And the dice also looked like D4s, but not, that well shaped. But there was actually tablets excavated in Babylon that tell you the rules to this game. It is the oldest complete board game in history. But he turned it into a game that is actually, fun. because he added in these 6 decks of asymmetric player powers. So you have an Ibex deck, a Bull deck, a Lion deck, a Tortoise deck, and this sort of relates. So there's 2 like normal, 2 hard, and 2 expert, and you can mix and match them. You can play a normal versus an expert if you wanted to. It's just kind of how complicated they are. Sort of like your Agricola K deck and A deck or whatever they are. So at the beginning of the game, you'll choose one of these decks. They all kind of have a theme. Like the Ibex deck is about agility, the Bull deck is about attack, the Lion deck is about control. We did an Ibex versus a Lion. And you also have a Rosette deck, which is like a deck of, I think it was like 8-ish cards that are unique to you, and every time you score, you'll be able to use that ability, and each of you has a different one of those. But every time you score, to actually give you, in his words, a benefit to score, because you don't want to just wait there until like, oh, I've got a bunch lined up, and then score. When you score, because of that, the Rosette deck gives you a benefit for scoring, but there's a negative to scoring as well, because you unlock one of your opponent's abilities by scoring. So you take your deck of 6 or 7 cards with the Kickstarter exclusive that has an extra card per deck. You split it up into 3 stacks of 2 and then a discard. And that is random, what cards are in each of those 2 decks. But every time your opponent scores, you get to look at one of the stacks and choose one of those 2 abilities. So, like with the Ibex deck, there was an ability, like every time your opponent rolled a 0 or a 4, your next roll counted as a 4.
Oh.
Which was very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see how that would be pretty awesome.
But also, like rolling a 4 or rolling a 0 off of a 50-50, off of 4, like it's basically 4 heads or 4 tails. Doesn't come up that often, so it's not a huge deal. Downside is, he rolled a lot more 4 zeros than I rolled even 0s or 4s, so that helped me out a lot. But the agility deck has a lot of stuff that can benefit off of that. So say you had that card that when they roll a 4 or a 0, you have another card that is, if you roll a 4, which now your next roll does count as, you may move a second token 4 spaces as well. So basically you have 2 4 rolls.
Oh.
And there are synergies in your deck. I think there was like 2 synergies per deck, that as we went over all the cards that you could get to kind of build however you wanted to do. I kind of did a little bit of both just because I didn't really see the whole strategy out of the deck because, first time playing versus a designer. The Ibex deck also had a synergy with the 5th space on the board. It's also the first space that the center column of this racetrack starts. Also counts as one of the Rosette spots, which there are 5 of on the board. One that you share in the center, but also you have some on the edges of your board that only is on your side of the track, you would call it. But the throne it's at the center, that 5th spot at the start of the center track counts as a Rosette for you only. But it also doesn't count as a Rosette, which can combine with other cards, and there's really cool synergies that you can do with that, because sometimes if you land on a Rosette, other cards can bone you because your opponent's cards will change how you treat spaces. So there's the Rosette spaces that are count as safe. There is a black Rosette in the middle of the center track that would normally be a safe space and would also give you a second go, basically a free turn if you landed on it. But his cards with the lion turned that into a bad space for me. So now that black space didn't count as safe, it didn't give me a reroll, and if I had a person there, I wouldn't get a reroll based on any of my white Rosettes that were on my side of the racetrack. Also, he got another synergy card that was like, if he landed on the black rosette, if I had a dude there, he wouldn't be able to, it would still be safe and not get removed from the board, but he would sit on top of it to where I couldn't move it anymore. So now that, since my dude is on there, all the other rosettes no longer count as safe spaces, and they don't give me rerolls anymore, and I'm trapped there because he's on top of me. So, it's a 2-player asymmetric, like, unique power player, or player power dice rolling game that you can build some, and out of these 6 decks of 7 cards, he's built a lot of very interesting interactions to where, as the game goes on, you score more, it gets a little more complicated, and you're thinking a lot more than just like, okay, this piece is going to move 0 to 4 spaces. It actually turns those spaces into interesting choices instead of, these are weird shapes on a board from 5,000 years ago. And I won,
Okay.
so fuck you, Alex.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It exceeded expectations.
There you go. That's
Um,
always a nice surprise.
There's kind of like a folded cardboard version that we played on, but he had examples of like carved wooden boards, with the various stains and such on them, and like uniquely carved symbols of the various 6 decks that people could get on there on the back sides. The dice were neat. All the tokens were, nice wood tokens. Nice compact box. I was getting a lot more, like, choice out of the game than I was expecting. And as we went through all the decks afterwards, I was like, oh, there's a lot of really cool stuff. Like the Tortoise Deck is super defensive. It's about, like, you have cards that let you stack your own pieces, and like if you move a piece off of your own stack, you get extra movement. But you have to be very exact with your choices. Like, you can't stack. Normally, you can't stack your own pieces on top of each other. You can lap your own pieces. There's no baseball rules. Like, you don't have to wait for the guy in front to keep running before another piece runs. But we ran into multiple times where we're like, well, I have literally only one move I can make because I rolled this, and everything else will either land in a spot that is occupied or can't land in, so this is my move, your turn. So yeah, it was super cool.
Right on.
Yeah, I would play it again.
Cool.
I'd say that first game took like an hour-ish with Teach and going over everything, but I could see that getting down very quickly.
Okay.
And it's really just keeping track of like the interactions of powers and stuff like that. So like you'll end up with 4 total powers out of the 7. So you get a new power for the first 3 scores. And then the card that you don't pick goes into the discard, and then the 4th score, you get to pick out of that discard a 4th power.
Okay. Cool.
So it's a little bit of a catch-up mechanic, I guess, because you unlock more and more powers as things go on, so you get a little more, different stuff you can do.
Cool.
One that was interesting that I didn't choose out of the Ibex deck is there was like you roll 4 d4s. There's one power that's just like, well, now you roll 3 d4s, but you always have a +1, so now you can't roll a 0 anymore, which is cool.
Cool. Well, right on. That's it for what you played that you're going to talk about, because the other thing you played, Zach is going to talk about, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Very
So-
correct.
So, Zach, what have you been playing?
So as per usual, we tried to set up a game of Kingdom Death Monster to play on Sunday, and then when we got there, we're like, do we want to play Kingdom Death, or do we want to just play something else? And we have once again chosen, we'll just do something else.
Well, it's not just we're going to play Kingdom Death or just something else.
Correct.
Are we going to play Kingdom Death or...
Forgotten Waters.
Yes.
And we had one scenario left. Jeff had bought 2 extra packs of the I forget what they're called, but like the character sheets.
Yeah.
And because
They're
we
totally
don't...
not a magically animated skeleton sheets, etc.
Nope, not at all. Wait, what is this? Sorry, one second.
Yeah. Well.
son of a bitch. All right. PS5 things came up and immediately were gone. But
Yeah.
they were bundles, it looks like.
Yeah, seconds.
Yeah? Okay, sorry. Anyway, we had 2 sheets left that we hadn't used. It was the Parent Pirate and then the Safety Pirate. And since it was my game and since Jeff had bought 2 of those sheets, I was like, well, we're going to get the final 2 new characters and everybody else can just choose amongst them. Eric and Paul both grabbed various ones, and then Thursby continuously grabbed characters that either he had already been or characters that we actively were. And it was like comical. It felt like it was getting to the point where he was doing it on purpose. It happened. It was like so many times in a row.
Yeah.
He
like,
ended up.
I haven't seen this one before. I'm going to be this one. It's like, no, I'm that one. Okay.
And I was like, and I'm the Safety Pirate. And he's like, okay. And he started looking through shit. Chose one that he had already been. And he's like, God damn it. And he was like, all right, well, I'm going to be the Safety Pirate then. I'm like, God damn it, Thursby. I told you, I'm the Safety Pirate. So this final one was about us capturing like magical beasts for these scientists, including one that had small hands that he liked to wringle. Was that what he kept saying?
No, the tiny gloves, tiny hand,
Yes.
The tiny-handed gloved man or something.
Yeah.
He had tiny hands and he was wearing gloves.
And he kept wringing them together.
Yes.
I think. Yeah. It was like so many times it was referencing, and this person wringing his little gloves, and it's just like, what the, like, what is going on? Why do they care so much about that?
Yeah. That's just how you described him. He had tiny gloved hands.
Mm-hmm. And so this one we had another new captain. Her name was Stroopwafel.
Stroopwafel. Yes.
She had a mechanical hand, and she had a wall of mechanical hands that she would switch.
She had
switch
a lot
them
of
with.
mechanical hands.
Yeah. And then at one point there were this one was another enjoyable one. I thought this was definitely better than the last one. There was a lot of funny stuff going on.
Yeah.
A lot of the places we visited gave pretty much everybody, and we were playing with 5 people, gave everybody like a good story thing to do. Because a lot of times when you're playing with 5, it's like, oh, there's like 2 or 3 things that are like cool, or they could be cool. Who's to say? But the other ones are usually like, I'll just go work on the boat, or I'll just bury some treasure or something like that. But a lot of these were like story-related things.
Yeah.
Ooh, 1 second.
No.
Keep adding inventory, you sons of bitches.
What?
I'm trying to buy PS5s. All right.
Oh.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah. Well, I told you, shit comes first, man. All right. But yeah, it was pretty fun. I enjoyed a lot of the captain's missions that we went on. Eric did not. He until like near the end of the game, he was always last in infamy, and so he just could not get the right worker placement spots to be able to get the right constellation stars out. So he ended up getting a bad ending. Everyone else, we ended up getting like the good ones, except for Paul, because he had a way too bullshit ability to get a lot of stars very quickly. But this was like the previous game. It felt like we just finished it too early. This game, it was like on the last turn we were able to get to the place we needed to do, and then the thing we were fighting, it was like the last turn before we ran a crew, and it was like we needed to get exactly this amount in order to do this much damage, and we were able to by the skin of our teeth.
Basically, I had 5 chances to roll an 11.
Pretty much, yeah, and
that was it on a D12.
Yep.
Which I did on the second chance. In fact,
which worked out well. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was very good. It didn't really have the accoutrement side story stuff that we have not happened
Yes,
in other stories. Like, oh, write this on the ship's log, and then nothing happens because it goes a little too fast, and maybe you don't just hit the random encounter that will just make that happen. But this one sort of just had that in the main storyline. It was sort of like collect 3 or more of these things, and we just kept sort of coming across other opportunities that were, I guess, they're side stories, but like, hey, maybe you can do this. Also, the end of the story has 3 different endings.
Oh.
Yeah. Fun fact.
Which is, it was pretty cool. It seemed pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it'd be one where I'd want to try. But, and, like, I think one of the reasons why we almost failed it was because at the end, after the fact, or near the end, we realized it was like, you really want to go, like, there's like 4 different things, or 3 different things you need to focus on. And, like, you need to get down, actually, technically, there's 3 things and you need to get down 2 of them. But we kept, like, spacing it out within all 3 instead of just, like, really hammering down 2 of them.
It was A, B, or C, and then, like, your victory conditions were A, B, A, C, or B, C?
Yes.
Yeah. And each one of those is what ending you got.
Yep. And we didn't care about D if it wasn't 0, so it was at, like, 14. So...
Yeah, like, it wasn't like, well, if it's within this range or that range, it was like, nah, fuck that.
Yeah. It was based on, like, hurt crew members or something like that, and we
reviving injured crew or something like that.
And, like, we ended the game with 1 crew member, so it was like, this number doesn't feel really...
Like, is this number 0? Then whatever. But you could only ever reduce it by, like, 1 or 2, and it kept... Yeah, and it started way too... Yeah, I don't know. It was fun.
Yeah.
I guess if you did it, like, the first round and everyone was on it, maybe you could get it to 0 or 1, and then everything else would be fucked, so...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Or, like, overall, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
There were a lot of funny things we had to do.
How dare you defend your home against people like us?
That'll show you.
That'll show you.
But yeah, that and Grizzled have been the only things that I've played.
For myself, because apparently this is one of those rare weeks when all 3 of us played a board game. Hopefully that doesn't cause the podcast to implode or something.
I mean, it almost did.
Yeah, maybe that's why we had so many audio issues.
Yep. Makes sense.
Anyhow, I played Clinic Deluxe with Megan. Let's see. Friday, I feel like it was. We played a 2-player game. Just pretty much the base game itself didn't really add much. Didn't add anything from the first expansion box that I got with the game. I did add in the 4th story boards, so you can build up to a 4-story hospital instead of 3-story. And I added in the workaholic doctors, which are just some extra ones you can throw in the bag. I had played a little bit solo to kind of learn it, then sat down, went through the rules again one more time, then did a teach for Megan, and then we played. Her first comment sitting down was like, wow, that's a busy board. But after getting to play, it's definitely one of those games where the graphic design's really well done. It's Vital Lacerda, so not surprising there. It flows really well, and once you understand the mechanics of the game, all of the iconography and everything on the board makes sense, and you're able to parse the information a lot better without it seeming as busy, which is really nice. So it plays out over 6 rounds, and at the end of each round, you're taking income and stuff. The first round, I knew I was in trouble when my income was 0 and Megan's was like 20.
That's wow. Okay. Yeah.
And then following that round, every single round except for the final round, her income was double my income. So we did go with slightly different strategies, which I was happy to see that I didn't end up. It was one of those where final scoring, there's some end game scoring stuff where I caught up to where the score wasn't as lopsided as it had looked going into final scoring, but I did still lose pretty handily. But I was happy to see that my vague strategy from like barely knowing the game wasn't completely blown out like for her. So her strategy was very much just pump the patients through. She was just she got as many cheap doctors as she could. She got a couple nurses to help the the cheap doctors get patients through, whereas I went for building a fancy hospital. And so I got a lot of points at the end of the game for having like functional operating rooms, but I never earned much money during the game because I really didn't treat many patients.
Gotcha.
So
sounds to me like you're trying. You could have taken the moral victory of like you're not trying. It shouldn't be about profits, right?
Yeah, there were multiple jokes made about things like that.
Okay.
There was one round where I brought a patient in and then I didn't treat them and they got more sick, and so I was able to treat them at a sicker level and get more money for them. And she was like, "Oh, so there's big medicine again, just making people sick so they can get more money off of them." It's like, yeah, totally guilty of that.
Sounds good.
She also, at one point, like when I was teaching the game, I was explaining like, yeah, you use a doctor to treat a patient. They have to be the same like level of doctor. So like, for the really sick red patients, you have to use a red doctor, and so on and so forth. And I was like, and each patient gets one doctor. And she's like, damn, I wish I could work at a hospital with that kind of staffing ratios. It's like, yeah, that's no overworked doctors taking care of 7 patients here. She was a little skeptical of the fact that the higher level doctors can't treat lower level patients by themselves until I explained to her that they're just too pretentious. And then she was like, oh yeah, that tracks.
Yes.
Did you get your PS5, Zach?
I did. Well,
Good.
We'll see. Okay, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they're like, fuck you, you don't get it anyway. But how it looks like on here is that I've received a confirmation email. So only took about, 50 refreshes on 2 different pages at once.
From?
GameStop.
Yeah.
That's where I got my Xbox. But yeah, so she did end up winning, unsurprisingly, as she tends to beat me the first time at games like these. She did like it. She's interested in some of the expansion stuff, but similar to myself, a little concerned that like some of it just adds extra stuff without adding depth of gameplay. But gonna start playing around with some of them and just kind of seeing how it goes. If nothing else, I do really like playing Base Clinic, at least for now. I feel like there's still plenty to learn and get used to before that would get stale and I'd need expansions. But really the whole point of playing was so I could make a decision about whether or not to back this deluxe extensions, the second and third extension that's on Kickstarter right now. I have 4 days left to make that decision, and I don't feel like I'm any closer to it. Because I still am a completionist, and it adds solo campaign stuff that seems interesting, and I just don't know. But that's what I played. So we can now move on to...
It's terrible, and you don't need to own it. Gotcha.
I disagree with that statement.
That's just what it sounded like.
That's what it sounded like.
Oh, okay.
Do you think there's any chance of Jeff or I liking it?
I could see Jeff liking it. I don't know if you will, Zach. I think you might enjoy like a play of it because of making jokes about the way it treats like hospital stuff. And like some of the abstractions that it makes to be a good game and not an actual simulation of running a hospital. But I think that the gameplay itself probably wouldn't prove to be particularly interesting to you.
Gotcha. That's good to know. Yeah, there's definitely been a good amount of games where it's like, you can tell it's just like, okay, this would be like good for one. Like, I enjoy my one play, but it's just like, no, I know I'm not going to get anything more out of it.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how this is. Like, there's not... there's a little bit of randomness in that, like, you draw things from the bag to seed them on the board, but there's not really any randomness in outcome of things. Like, the randomness is just what's available for you to buy.
Right.
And I feel like for you especially, it doesn't, the puzzle that it offers isn't the kind of puzzle that seems to interest you in games.
Gotcha.
You'd play it one time and be like, okay, well, like, yes, that was interesting to play, but now I kind of understand the puzzle and I'm done with it.
Nice. All right, cool.
That's my thought. I would happily teach you sometime if you want to try that one single play.
Right, yeah. Well, I spent enough fucking time unboxing that thing, so.
It is a very beautiful game. I do really like, and it was cool building the isometric hospitals. Like, there were a couple times where it was like kind of breaking my brain trying to like, okay, wait, which one? Okay, that's the one that's on the second floor, and it's above that room. Okay, because rooms sometimes they affect rooms above and below them and stuff, so you have to kind of keep track of that. But that was cool. I like that part of the puzzle too, like trying to cram as much stuff as you could into your little like plot of land,
Right.
and then building it higher and higher, and things getting more expensive as they went higher. But yeah, I dug it and want to play more. But yeah, I think that lets us move on over to some banters. I don't have a ton of banter. Control continues to be really good. I just got the 5th level of security clearance, so I think I'm getting towards the end of the game because I don't think I ever saw anything higher than that. It might be a 6, but I think now I should be pretty much unlocking everything. Really like the game. It's a bunch of fun. Valheim's been a bunch of fun.
Yeah, because
Megan
when we last recorded, you literally just bought it.
Yes, and then it ended up being so good. So we recorded on Monday night. I bought it for Megan and I, and then we both had Wednesday off. We played it Wednesday. We loved it. Ended up playing it almost all day Wednesday.
Was it like an instant?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
well,
okay.
for me it was. It took Megan a little bit. There was a little bit of frustration where she was like, "This doesn't make sense. I don't know how to do things. The controls are wonky." But then she kind of got the hang of it, and then ended up now she really, really likes it.
Nice.
So we played it pretty much all day Wednesday. We got off at a reasonable time because the plan was to get up early Thursday and go snowboarding Thursday, camp Thursday night, and then snowboard on Friday as well, and then come home. And so Thursday we woke up and we were getting ready, and we were like, "Ugh, I just don't really feel like it. Like this, I don't know. I just am kind of feeling like not really wanting to go snowboarding. Like I just kind of feel kind of lazy." And she was like, "I kind of want to just go be a Viking." And I was like, "I definitely want to just go be a Viking." And so we bailed on our snowboarding trip and we just played Valheim
Nice.
all day Thursday. And then we got up early Friday to go snowboarding for a day trip because that was the plan. We were like, oh, well, we went and got a Kallax too. Like, that was the other thing because I posted pictures in the Slack channel. Thursday, she was like, okay, well, if we're going to bail on snowboarding, we have to be productive before we go play video games all day. So we went down to IKEA. We ordered online, just picked up there, brought it back home, assembled a new Kallax, pulled all the games off the old ones, wiped them down, cleaned the games, wiped down and cleaned the shelves, cleaned behind the shelves, rearranged them, put them all back, and then reorganized the games and sorted through a bunch of them to kind of get an idea of yes, these ones will keep, these ones, will go in the next raffle whenever that may be. So we did do that. That was a big part of the day. And I posted pictures in the Slack channel of my big pile of games sitting on the cardboard box that the Kallax came in, which apparently was just some sign that I'm a trash person because I put my games on a cardboard box, and I don't know. I got a lot of shit for that, apparently.
Your entire floor is just cardboard boxes.
Yes.
Why vacuum or clean the floor when you can just put down another layer of cardboard box?
Thus hiding all the dirt and stuff.
Yeah. Somebody even posted a GIF from Big Daddy where he just puts newspaper over where the kid wet the bed. It's like, come on.
That's Adrian.
Yep. Basically, I'm a trash person now because I dared to put my games on a cardboard box. Yeah. So did all of that. Then we decided to play, and then we were planning on going on a day trip Friday. We were like, yeah, we'll just run up and we'll ride for a little while and then come home. Well, then we got up early, same thing, same plan, and we were getting ready, and nobody was really complaining this time until we ate breakfast and we were just about to go. And then I was like, if you didn't want to go, I'd be okay with it. And she was like, I wasn't going to say anything. She's like, but I definitely agree. And so then for that one, she made me caulk the kitchen sink because some of the old caulking had ran out and it was getting a little leaky. And she was like, okay, well that's our productive thing today. And I was like, well, I don't have any caulk and I don't want to go to the hardware store. She's like, I'll go to the hardware store, you caulk the sink, and then we'll play video games. And so that's what we did.
I don't know if I've heard someone pronounce the L in caulk before, but
Yeah, I mean, it's
really
there.
Emphasized the L in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, some of that is just because I wanted to be very clear about what I was doing.
About how
to
much
the
you
sink.
love cocking the sink.
Now, question: was it just because you didn't feel like doing the hike up and all that stuff, or was it just like not wanting to like the whole trip? I guess.
So it was so the Thursday was a combination of things. So Wednesday we got sucked into Valheim, so we didn't pack or anything. So by the time we got up, made our food for the day, started getting our gear together and everything, it was already getting kind of later in the day, like later in the morning. It was like 7 or 8, and we like to be on the road by like 6 or 7. And it was like, wow, we still probably have like another hour and a half of getting ready. Then we have a 2.5 hour drive, and then we have to ride. And then we looked at the weather forecast. This was another big part of it. The forecasted low for last Thursday night up at the resort was -6. We have not stayed in the car in anything, like we got to 6. And so this would be another 10 degrees colder than that. And we were like, yeah, we don't really feel like dealing with that.
Wait, you said you've stayed at 6, and it was
yes,
at 10 degrees lower at -6. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
All right. I want to make sure you're putting that math out there. Okay.
God damn it. 12 degrees colder.
Okay. All right.
Potentially 13.
I mean, no.
No, 12.
Yeah, it's not.
But yeah, so I'm used to like, because the difference between like 6 and 16.
Uh-huh.
It-
Okay.
it-
I just wanted
Shut
to
up, Zach. We're not all accountants, okay?
Okay.
We don't all
right.
work with numbers every day, okay?
Okay.
Anyhow, so even worse. So it was
Uh-huh.
even worse. It was even but we didn't want to stay in the car in that temperature. And honestly, like we were really jazzed about the car, and I am happy to have the ability to like turn it into a camper and sleep in it. But it is more since the camping was originally supposed to be you could camp in the parking lot at the resort. And that ended up not working out, so you have to drive 2 miles down the road. And
Is it because they won't let you do it? Or
yeah, they misunderstood the easement they had for the land.
okay.
And it did not include any kind of letting people stay overnight on the land. So, unfortunately, when the car's like in its sleeping configuration, it's not really easy to get 2 people and a dog and all the gear inside the car to drive to the next spot. So it just makes the camping a little bit more of a hassle than we thought it was going to be. And that sucks. So camping hasn't worked out as great. So the Thursday bailing, we didn't want to camp it. We knew it was going to be cold and all of that. Then on Friday when we woke up, it was like do we really want to drive like 4 to 5 hours round trip to get like 3 to 4 hours of snowboarding? Like that seems a little not ideal.
Right.
So, and we had Valheim to play. So,
Gotcha.
it wasn't exactly a fair comparison.
Right.
And
hell, you can go to the mountains in Valheim, and it takes a lot less time.
yeah, it's just as fucking frosty cold.
That's true. Yeah.
In fact, I'd say the cold hurts worse in Valheim.
So I guess my question is, with all of that, like you said, the end of March is the end of this season for you, right? In terms of like that location.
For that particular
Yes.
resort location, yes.
Right. Next year, is this still gonna be like? Would you still consider this to be a primary way to do this, or would you still want to do the more traditional with this as like the option for certain things? Like, have you switched to doing just like backcountry snowboarding, or?
No.
Okay.
So I don't think so. We'll see how April plays out and maybe
Mhm.
May, because we're slowly going to transition over the course of March, moving away from riding at that resort to actually getting out into like some more legitimate backcountry.
Yeah.
Within reason. It's a really sketchy snowpack this year, and avalanches keep killing people. Like every time I turn around, there's been another big avalanche that's killed somebody.
Well, Adrian, I'm going to suggest this. Stop turning around, please.
For the love of God,
Yeah,
man, you're killing people. But so within reason, we're gonna get out in the backcountry, outside of the resort itself. I think that like, so the backcountry stuff does really appeal to me and like gets to some of the stuff I love the most in snowboarding. So it's going to become definitely more of a focus. But there is definitely something to be said for having a day at a resort where you ride a chairlift to the top and then could just shred down a groomer, and not have to worry about anything. Because like the last time we went up there, that was the day that we hiked for like 2 hours. So that was the last time we went up was a day trip on a Friday. It took us like 2.5 hours to get up there. Then we hiked for like 2 hours, and then it was like an hour and a half to 2 hour ride down because we kept getting stuck in snow and trees and shit. And then we were so exhausted, we bailed and soaking wet from being stuck in the snow so much that we decided that we're just going to do that one run, and we went back and we drove home. And so we drove 4 to 5 hours round trip, hiked for 2 hours for an hour and a half of snowboarding.
Yeah.
And the math didn't super add up there. Next year, we're hoping that we should be able to have a condo again. So we wouldn't necessarily have to sleep in the car.
Right.
And then we'd be able to kind of alternate. Like some days, like if it's a, depending on the type of what the weather's doing, we can pick whether it's the kind of weather where we really want to go, like really enjoy some backcountry on a beautiful day, or like, oh, it's kind of a crummy day, we don't feel like hiking in this and dealing with that aspect of things. So we'll just go to the resort where we can kind of rip it. And then whenever we get cold or it's too windy or we just, are needing a break, we can drop into one of the resort cafeterias and have a beer and some warm food. It definitely has made me appreciate some of the creature comforts of the resort more, having a season with a very limited resort kind of a situation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No.
So-
I definitely can see that. Like with all of this was definitely the best way for you to like get out and still feel like comfortable.
Yes.
But I was curious. Yeah, I was definitely curious to see if if you're like, oh, I'm doing it for a year. This is great, but now I don't want to do this again, or like this is now my passion, that sort of stuff, right? So
yeah, no, we both really do still enjoy backcountry. It was just kind of, and we both talked about like, sometimes you just don't feel things, like, and that's a good day to not push yourself and go, because if you're not feeling it, like those are days you can get hurt and stuff, and bad things tend to happen on days when you don't really want to be out there. And then you just don't have fun. And, if you're not going to have fun, then why bother?
Exactly. Yeah. Is there like, are there passes that have like this location on or something similar to it, and then also regular ones, or is it something you're gonna have to split?
We'll have to split.
Okay.
We did get, they have 2 passes. They have like their regular pass and then their Pass Plus. We got the Pass Plus this year. That included like 5 days of camping per pass. That included their backcountry 1, 2, and 3 courses that we took. And that includes any of their clinics for free, and their clinics normally run like $10 to $30. And then you get some discounts at the snack hut. So
Gotcha.
Next year we will probably, if we still go with Bluebird as one of our passes, we'll probably just get the regular one. But I also wouldn't be terribly surprised if we don't even necessarily do Bluebird in the future. We just do regular backcountry on days when we want to have a backcountry day.
Gotcha.
That we'll see. Like, we definitely like backcountry and want to do more. I love my split board. It's some of the most fun I've ever had on snow. Megan is still actively looking for split board and more gear in that regard. So we're definitely going to keep doing backcountry, and we definitely still like it. This was just kind of one. There was a new game that we were both super jazzed about, and the weather was going to kind of suck, and we just, felt like, nope, we're gonna bail. And we were both on the same page with that, which a lot of times we feed off of each other a lot. Like, usually at least one of us is kind of in a more meh mood initially about the drive and all of that, but then the other person like kind of carries the weight. And then when you get up there and start riding, we have a lot of fun, and it's usually worth it. Like, we both felt that day of the really long drive for one run was worth it. We had fun. We got to explore some new terrain. And we felt like we pushed ourselves, which we really enjoyed. But then there's days when neither one of us is willing to carry the slack of like motivating the other one, and those are the days we stay at home and play video games.
There you go.
So, but yeah, so Valheim is great.
How far along are you?
We just we beat the first boss pretty quickly. I think we had him beaten on that first Wednesday, and then we just unlocked, like, we just built the second tier ship, and we just got like the fermenters and like some of that like copper level. Like we're starting to finish up fully upgrading our copper gear. And we've kind of reached that point. So we're gearing up to I don't know when we're gonna get to play again together. Because she works tomorrow, and then we definitely are going snowboarding this week. So we might not play again until like next Wednesday. But whenever we play again, I think we are going to be gearing up and heading out to go try and fight the second boss. I think is where we're kind of at.
That's I'll just give you some advice. After you beat the second boss, like you head into the next area you head into, just take it easy. Don't just be like gung ho into it, because it won't end well for you.
Are you talking about how the swamps are punishingly hard?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, we found swamps, and we started exploring the swamps and got raffle stomped several times. And that's where we were like, okay, well, this is probably a good sign that we don't need to do this, and we need to go fight that boss.
Yeah. And if you accidentally stumble into plains, just stay away. Just stay away.
Also known as the last biome.
Exactly. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because mountains go after swamp, and then it's plains. The problem with plains is that there are death mosquitoes that like to hang near the edge, and they are quick, and they do a shitload of damage if you aren't paying attention.
Okay. Good
And
to
will
know.
Easily one-shot.
Yeah. And it's funny, too, is that they reduce the damage that they used to do because of how bullshit it was. Like, both, I know the first instance of me wandering into a plane, instantly killed by one of those. I'm going to guess Jeff's was close to similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I blocked.
Yeah, and you blocked. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, Megan found the swamp. I was doing something else, and she found it. She's like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, ooh, what's this? Ooh, there's a Draugr. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, they're not too tough. And then she was like, oh, there's a couple more Draugr. Oh, I'm dead. And it's like, oh, okay.
And I'm not alive anymore.
Yeah, and those aren't even the things you need to worry about in the swamp. There's other stuff in the swamp you gotta worry about.
Mm-hmm.
So,
gotta get yourself a fermentation station rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, poison resistance is huge.
Yes.
Fermentation station.
So we've been greatly enjoying Valheim. I'm going to probably tomorrow set up a MHGG server that I'll share the information for in the Slack channel. So people who want to just jump in and like hang out, and play together in another running server, because you guys played together on the one that Thursby's running.
Correct.
So we'll get another one that'll have more options for people to jump in and run around and do Viking shit.
Yeah,
I have so many houses.
Mm-hmm. I was definitely thinking about that. I'm like, oh, if we do have that, do I want to just make a different character and like only stay on there? Because I could come over there with my character, but it's not gonna. It's really gonna bring down the difficulty a lot on a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what I'll do. It depends on, like, because my character's not super high leveled, but he's definitely high enough leveled that like starting on a scratch server would not be probably very interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Especially with the knowledge that like, oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm trying to get all this iron to get this thing. Oh, but I know that other server has fucking 4 iron maces just in a chest that no one's using.
Right. It has been so hard for me to like avoid jumping into y'all's game to be like, and that's a fully upgraded copper set and that, so I don't have to go like, or bronze set, so I don't have to go worry about mining a shit ton of copper anymore.
Yep.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, at this point, I think you could get a full silver set. Which is,
probably.
Which is the stuff that you get in the mountains. So.
Yeah, but I wouldn't do that. Like, that's not how I want to play. I mean, I did only very recently figure out that like parrying is huge.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So that's been fun.
Fun.
But yeah, I think that's about it for my banter. Like I said, I filled everybody in on my lack of snowboarding and the reasons why. I watched Judas and the Black Messiah, but wasn't super blown away by it. It was okay. I think it could have been better. But it's also like a really hard thing, I feel like, to capture in a film some of what all went on there.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know. I'm eager to hear, like, I posted about it today, but I'm eager to hear from more people once more people have seen it, what their thoughts are.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it. I just haven't.
So, yeah. That's it for me. I don't know if you all have any
let's have Zach go for
banters.
20 minutes, and then
Nope,
I can
I
go
don't.
for 20 minutes.
No,
and
I'm
then we'll
good.
start news at about an hour 40 into this
Yeah.
episode.
There we go.
And then, yeah.
No, I don't
Zach
really have
just kept
anything.
asking me questions
Yeah, I just
about
kept
snowboarding.
that was my part of
Your B.
banter.
Yeah, you know what? It was the interaction part of your banter.
Yep.
Crowd work complete, Zach.
Yep. Whatever. I got a PS5. I don't give a shit.
You two can not play any games on it like mine. Has anyone else listened to the Munsters theme at least 12 times since last Friday? Huh? Anyone else? Anyone else? Just me?
No, why
Ugh.
are you listening to the Munsters theme?
I'm not really listening
So
to the
much.
Munsters theme.
I was listening to something else, but yes.
Yes. Anyway, I watched a bad movie. It's called Monster Hunter. It's got a 70-year-old Ron Perlman with a giant flaming sword in it fighting monsters.
Oh, Jesus.
I scrubbed through that movie. I did not watch that movie. I was just like, yeah, mouse wheel can forward this, can't it? Right arrow key, 10 seconds at a time. Let's get past this. Let's
Yep.
keep moving. Let's keep this moving. There is...
So what you're telling me is you don't really like the plot. You just really dialed in on it. Right?
Oh,
That's-
absolutely. Uh-huh.
The action was taken away from the plot, so you're like, all right, let's just skip past this. I really want to know what Mila Jovovich and Ron Perlman and Tony Jaa are saying together.
There was a part in the beginning of the movie where she's looking at a ring and then, like, longingly at it, and then it is never referenced again.
It's all about the subtext.
It's the subtext. The subtext of the movie, except the part with giant spiders ripping her squad in half and laying eggs in them like a la The Mist, nightmare body horror. That was cool. But that's all this movie has going for it. And there's a fight scene. I don't know. Let's talk about another movie. It's called Willy's Wonderland. That's a Nick Cage movie where he's in a Chuck E. Cheese style animatronic children's place that had been long run down because it was originally owned by satanic serial killers who, once they were found out, committed suicide via satanic ritual to put their souls into the animatronics that now Nicolas Cage has to fight with basically his bare hands and plays pinball while dancing.
Great.
Doesn't say a
So,
fucking
like-
word in this movie. Nicolas Cage does not have one line.
What?
0.
So my question then, was he paid to be like a walk-on, like somebody walking in the background and then just like, they're like, wait, is that Nick Cage? Just
No.
fucking focus on him.
He is star of this movie. There are side characters that talk that are the only reason there's any story to this movie. But when Nicolas Cage fights an animatronic person that is clearly just a person in a suit and not any way, shape, or form resembling an animatronic, it is very entertaining. Literally anything else that happens in that movie is not
Garbage.
entertaining.
Does he like grunt or like make like when he's attacking something, or is it just like dead silence?
I
Like,
don't-
do you even see the emotion in his face, or is he just like
Like,
deadpan
did
the
they forget
entire time?
Emotion?
Did they forget to turn on the boom mic above him?
No.
So that they just never got
No.
any.
Emotion? Yes.
Okay.
I think he didn't make a sound. It's not like he was. I mean, maybe he. I don't know. Did he scream while fighting? I don't know. I don't remember. But he was destroying animatronics with basically a broomstick. And then he chugged soda and he drank at least a 24-pack of soda in that movie, and played pinball and fought animatronics and cleaned. He cleaned. His character is billed as the janitor.
Oh God!
Because it's like, oh, go ahead and clean the old place and we'll fix your car because we're in the middle of nowhere and you can't use your credit card and you can't get cash from the ATM. Just go clean for a while and we'll fix your car. But there's Satan animatronics. It's not great, but Nick Cage fighting animatronics and playing pinball was entertaining.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, and everything else in that movie was fucking awful.
Great.
63
Rousing,
out of 100.
Recommendation.
It has a 63 on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, right on. I think that lets us move over to some news and Kickstarters then. So I feel like that pretty much wraps up all the bantery banters.
Yeah, news, right?
I'm sorry I made fun of Texas last week. That we recorded that way before things got as bad as they got. I'm sorry, Texas.
Who are you talking to? Is that news?
That was the transition to news. I don't know, because in banter I think is where I made fun of the Boyd wearing multiple cargo shorts.
Oh
and
yes, and then he made pants out of all of his shorts,
right?
Because that's all he owned.
But your comments about Texas was right in the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great start to that episode when it released several days later after things had went real bad in Texas.
Maybe the winning move was to just not play, but
go full war games.
Or trust that your editor would be like, "Hey, this is no longer a safe joke to make because of the last few days."
Yeah. Or now Adrian can finally get what he.
Oh, geez. Anyway, now on to actual news and Kickstarter.
Speaking of being canceled, Metal Gear Solid, the board game, is not happening.
Yep. So IDW was going to work on it and
had been, or at least there is demos of this game that has been played.
Yes, but they decided back in December they weren't going to move ahead with it. And then someone from Nazca Games kept trying to look for different ways to keep things going, like putting in their own capital to help fund the last leg of the project, offering to buy out IDW, purchase all of the assets. None of that worked. They did, this person from Nazca did get the rights to the design, and is working on other licensing things and has connections at Konami. And so there's still someone very much trying to make this game happen. But as of right now, it is not coming anytime soon.
Wish I would have played that demo at PAX Unplugged 2 years ago. Well,
yeah.
2019? Yeah, 2019.
2019, yeah.
A year and 3 months ago.
But then what if it had been good? And then they're like, I want to get this. And then heartbroken today. Jeff.
Yeah, that's
devastated.
Devastated. I could never recover from this. So yeah, Metal Gear will be sorely missed, just like all the video games that still don't exist. Anyways, next up on news. Stardew Valley has a board game coming today, right now, as it was announced and released today.
Who does that?
Yes, so Stardew Valley is a game now that exists as a board game. So it's an official one coming from the developer of Stardew Valley.
It is published by the developer of Stardew Valley.
Sure.
It is not developed by the developer of Stardew Valley.
Well, it said Stardew Valley developer blog.
Correct, because it was announced and released on their website.
Okay. Anyhow, because and then it says for more than 2.5 years I've been working together with board game designer. Okay.
Aha!
Anyhow.
We finished the sentence.
They're working together. He partially designed it. So Cole Medeiros, working with Concerned Ape, got Stardew Valley the board game It has apparently everything from the video game: villagers, crops, animals, fishing, foraging, mining. They got a little YouTube video up about the game itself. It's 1 to 4 players, and you play through a full year of game time, which they say will take about 45 minutes per player. You can adjust that if you want a shorter game, but it's meant to be played for the full year. He says there's a lot to it, and it's meant to be kind of a heavy, more like kind of thinky, serious game, not something short and casual. But that there are a lot of optional rules and things that if you do want something a little bit lighter and easier, you can leave stuff out and kind of play it more simply. It's a cooperative game. Everyone's working together to protect Stardew Valley. If they succeed, the valley's brought back to life, the bad corporation's driven out, and you do that by completing Grandpa's goals and restoring the community center, kind of like in Stardew Valley. The time is tracked using a season deck, where each round you draw a new season card, and that tracks the weeks of the year, gives different weather, different events, things like that. Then you discuss plans for the round, place your pawn in like which part of the valley you want to work on, and then you do the different things related to where you ended up going. And as you play, you increase your tools, get new skills, find items, gather resources, all of that. Make friends with the locals, eventually unlocking different things for the community center. And yeah, seems like it says here like that some of the goals might seem difficult at first, but as you get more abilities, like things get easier. So again, kind of like those games, you level up and it's like, oh yeah, this thing that was really hard when I started is now really easy because I'm super leveled. But yeah. They have the rulebook available to check out. There's a new section of the Stardew Valley forums, and you can buy it right now. Like Jeff said, it's available right this very second. So
$55.
Yeah.
Yeah, this all came out today. Just boom. We're making this happen, and it's out. Buy it. Buy it now.
Right.
It seems like it has all the little bits of Stardew Valley that Stardew Valley fans would want. Get yourself a spouse.
Seems that way.
Go to the different areas, do the mining, fight creatures, do all this crazy shit. Fight the Joja Mart out of town to save the community center. It doesn't seem like it has the choice track of just be like, no, I want Joja Mart, yay! But yeah, Stardew Valley. If you like Stardew Valley, here's a board game. Currently only available in the United States. So if you're not in the United States, you cannot get this game yet. FYI. U.S. shipping only. So we'll see. It's as soon as it starts arriving, we'll see what the game is like, because it seems like no one has it yet.
All right, next up on news. I don't know what it's going to be because Jeff is going off script.
Yep. Well, maybe your sound should be better. Great Western Trail has new art and some expansions coming. Sometimes they call it a second edition, but they're not changing the game. But the players remain the same. Great Western Trail.
Yes. So Plan B Games has announced that they are dropping a whole new trilogy of Great Western Trails stuff, starting with a new second edition of Great Western Trail that will, at a minimum, feature all new art style. So the box is getting a complete art redesign, meant to kind of draw inspiration from spaghetti Western style art, which actually, the art I do think looks pretty awesome. They say they've created new art for also the game board and all the cards, and Plan B is going to be slowly revealing some of that information over the next several weeks. No word if there's really much game changes for the second edition of Great Western Trail.
Yeah, because there was an expansion, but they don't really mention the expansion.
They do at the very bottom of the article. They say that a new edition of Rails to the North, which is that expansion, will be released sometime in 2021 to be compatible with the second edition of Great Western Trail.
And they don't.
So
they don't mention.
I don't know if that's
changes to Great Western Trail.
I think it's the base. I think it's just the regular game. Maybe a couple tweaks just for like whatever
FAQ
like little
fixes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I think it's
errata
mainly
type
just
stuff.
art to get it consistent with the expansions. I'm guessing that they got those, or they were wanting to do those, and they were also wanting to update the art. And so they're like, well, we'll release it as a second edition to get it in line with the other ones. So
yes. And then in addition to the second edition, which will be coming out sometime this year, they have announced that next year in 2022, Great Western Trail Argentina will be released. And then in 23, we will be seeing Great Western Trail New Zealand show.
And these are standalone games, because it's not like the Century series where it's unique games that like can come
play
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, these are their own distinct ones. So I'm curious to see if it's like Ticket to Ride Europe versus the US, where it's just like a little different, or if there's like a big difference in between them, where it's like
I don't know.
the like the Century games where they each play very differently.
Or
yeah, it does say that they are using
and like Paladins, Architects, and
yes,
whatever the third one is of the West Kingdom, sort of like a trilogy where this is just like, here's Great Western Trail times different countries.
Yeah. Back to what Zach was saying, it does say here that they are using the core elements, that deck building and the rondelle, in all the games, so they will likely feel somewhat similar, but they're doing it in new and exciting ways. So we'll
At
see.
least they're not old and boring ways. So
Correct. Yeah, you hate to see people redo things in old, boring ways.
Cough, cough. Kickstarter. And it's a Western. Anyway, that's Great Western Trail.
Indeed.
Getting more Great Western Trail happening as I take a look to my left and see, oh, hey, Cloud Age arrived. Anyway, last up on news, Arkham Horror 3rd edition getting another expansion. I like that last one.
yeah, same here. This one seems to be like it's a bigger box, but it's not like a big box, I don't think.
Big, because it comes with a map piece, so it has to be only so small.
Yes, but it's only one map piece, and it's just 3 new things instead of 5, and there's I think just 4, so it's their smaller expansion, but
not just cards.
Not just cards.
Indeed. It's going to be a whole bunch of stuff. They're, of course, bringing in new investigators. There's going to be 4 of them. They mention 3. Mark Harrigan, whose name I don't super recognize. Winifred Habermock, which I definitely don't recognize.
A pilot.
And then Agatha Crane, who I do recognize.
The first guy I seem to remember from Mansions of Madness, but that one also has a shitload of people in it. So
yeah.
I don't recognize her, though, the Winifred. So I think she's I'm going to guess she's a new character.
The Aviator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Aviatrix is...
Oh, is that what it is?
That's an Aviatrix, yeah.
That is the term they use here. Mark
Unsurprisingly
is
good.
the steadfast soldier.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, she has good observation. That would be weird if she's just like...
Yeah.
I mean, Paul's a pilot, so clearly don't always need great observation.
Yeah, right. Did he get his license? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if Paul has flown in quite some time.
I know he hasn't flown in some. Yeah, but.
Anyway, so in addition to the new investigators, it is going to be adding new locations in the form of 2 new location tiles that are double-sided, which bring French Hill, one of the classic areas of Arkham, to life, as well as the underworld itself. There's going to have 3 entirely new scenarios, and introduce a new type of map tile. I'm not sure. I think that might be one of the 2 double-sided tiles is the new map tile.
I think in the image there's one on the like bottom right that's like a triangle sort of thing, where like the edges cut out. I feel like that might be what they're referring to.
And I think that's going to be kind of that
the underworld
type thing, yeah.
Because it looks like it could connect to like the top or like to the corners of the map board. That it may
Yeah,
like an edge piece, not a connector piece.
Yes,
that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. So one of the other things is they're bringing in several new monsters, which have a new keyword called Shrouded, which hides everything from its attributes, abilities, and its health, so that you really don't know what's going on with that monster until you actually go fight that monster. Which could be like, hey, you got to go fight it, and then now you're fucked.
So you can shoot it from range, like with a spell or something, and then you could go investigate it and then see that like you did more damage than its health. So you could like go walk into its space, it attacks you, and then you find out that it's dead. Or, but it could be an ally because there are some ghostly allies. So you could go in there and be like, oh no, I killed the cat in Nostromos again. Son of a bitch.
Yes. Yeah, so like they have 3 haunting deads, and it could be basically one of the 3 is a ally. Like there's the cacophonous haunt. Wait. Oh yeah, so if you've preemptively defeated them, this could come in handy, especially if it's a cacophonous haunt or a screaming haunt, both of which have hindering effects. Or it could be an ally like the weeping haunt.
Oh yeah, like a screaming haunt. It's after you engage this monster, place 2 doom in your space unless you become cursed.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Definitely not great.
No. But in order to beat it, you have to influence it, apparently. Be like, stop screaming. And it's okay.
Yes. Influence +1. It's just you screaming back at it.
Yeah.
Who can scream louder? Like most fights.
Alrighty. Think that wraps up all of the new stuff then.
Yeah.
With Secrets of the Order, the new expansion from Arkham Horror.
$40. That moves us on to Kickstarter.
Indeed it does.
First up in Kickstarter, we have the One Ring role-playing game, 2nd edition. Extremely well-funded. $1.2 million of its $12,000 goal, over 10,000 backers. Just under a week left to pledge on this one, which you can at its most popular level of $97.
Yeah. So the One Ring is a
just kidding. $145 is its most popular.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a new edition of the One Ring role-playing game, which is based on The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. It was originally released in 2011, and according to the Kickstarter itself, was hailed as one of the best attempts at bringing Middle-earth to the game table to date, because of thematic rules and a lot of attention to detail. So now, 10 years later, they are coming out with a new edition, a new hardbound volume, updated and streamlined rules thanks to years of player feedback, a new setting. They're moving things to the Lonelands of Eriador, which is like one of the northern kingdoms that used to exist and is now kind of barren wastelands.
It's that northwest area that the Shire and Bree and stuff is in.
Yep. Yeah. So, and they completely redesigned all of the art and graphics and everything. So
their art they use looks fantastic.
Yeah, it does. So yeah, through the Kickstarter, you can get the unique collector's edition in faux leather with gold foil stamped adornments and things. It's exclusive to the Kickstarter and will not be printed ever again after this. Yeah. Let's see. In this one, you're not like necessarily superheroes. Like you're not gonna be like Aragon or some of that. You're more people who led like ordinary lives, and then so you're not soldiers, you're not mercenaries, you're not wizards, you're just like adventurous regular people who realize that the world is getting darker, and you head out to go oppose that darkness. Core gameplay revolves around adventuring phase and fellowship phase. They don't really go into, at least here, what that entails, how those two phases like work together or go on. It is played with a custom dice set, but they say you can also play with a standard set as long as you have a 12-sided die and at least 6 6-sided die. And this general system is similar to other games that were designed by the Free League, which is the publishing unit here who's putting this out. They've tweaked things for like hero creation to help the game run a little bit more smoothly. Completely redesigned rules for journeys and councils. And then they have added some new rules like things for magic die results that kind of tweak, things to better simulate the subtle magic of Middle-earth. So,
because you don't have a Gandalf with you, because there's like one of him.
Yep.
There's some other wizards, to be
things.
fair. There's blue wizards in the east. There's the brown wizard.
Many.
No, there's not. And the blue ones literally, I think, have no story except they went east and they were never heard from again.
Yeah. If you are somebody who has the first edition, this new edition will be compatible with any of the modules you have for the first edition with some minor tweaks. So it is at least not straying so far as to be unrecognizable. They also have created, for the first time with this edition, a starter set. This is focused specifically on the Shire and is a set that allows for new players to enter the world from the land of hobbits where all the stories begin. Gives you some pre-generated characters. It's a box set mainly written by James Spahn. Has condensed rules to kind of get you going. A compendium that gives a number of different adventures that you can play with those pre-generated characters. And then the pre-generated characters themselves are things like Drogo Baggins, Paladin Took, Primula Brandybuck, or Lobelia Baggins.
Because there's only like 5 last names in the Hobbits.
Yeah, there's not many. The Shire is not a big place. They have unlocked a shit ton of stretch goals. Like maps, cards, custom dice, bonus characters, a bunch of different maps, another compendium, different treasure, marker ribbons, Sauronic, the Sauron dice,
Sauron
dice, Sauron.
Yes.
Sauron
is the pterodactyl from the Savage Land in X-Men.
Oh, okay. There have also been some, and I don't see, I guess if I scroll down further past just the list of all the things, it actually explains what some of them are. Holy shit, the Shire map is awesome. So scrolling way, way, way down here, some of the last things they unlocked were patrons. So they have some new patrons that can provide counsel and assistance to the group. Círdan the Shipwright, Gilrain, and Tom fucking Bombadil. Holy shit. Because Tom Bombadil got left out of fucking everything except the books.
Well,
poor Tom Bombadil.
Did you want 45 minutes of him just singing and dancing in that first movie?
Yes, I did. I 100% did. I'd have been there for that. At least in the extended versions. Sure, leave him out of the theatrical release.
Yeah.
They have also one of their last 2 was custom character sheets that are designed with distinct graphical elements for elves, dwarves, hobbits, and men. So that, depending on which race you play, you'll have your own kind of character sheet inspired by that race, which is cool. Yeah.
And Mordor.
Mordor. Bunch of different stuff.
The Shadow across the land. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It seems well done and super cool. There's just a straight up I just want a PDF of all this and no physical stuff. It's like $37 for like the core rulebook.
Yeah.
Just get a bunch of stuff digitally.
Yeah, and all the digital stretch goals and everything.
Yep.
So get a bunch of stuff.
You can even get the starter set digitally included for like $61. Also, this Friday of one of my favorite YouTube channels, The Nerd of the Rings, they'll be doing an interview with one of the designers of this game for a live stream, Francisco Nepatello, which
Okay.
this is the designer of this. So, also I've been watching a lot of that YouTube channel, so which is where I learned about the Blue Wizards and why no one knows what the fuck they are, because there ain't shit. Yeah, One Ring
Oh man.
RPG.
Oh, do I just spend the extra $50 to get the cool leather version?
Absolutely.
I'm already back in so much other shit.
Yeah, you probably are.
Ah, we'll see. We'll see. I'll come back to it. But yeah,
The One Ring.
Megan loves Lord of the Rings stuff, so that seems pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It seems pretty cool. Next up on Kickstarter, Root 3. It's made a fuckload of money already. 951,000 of its $100,000 goal over 10,000 backers. Still about 2 weeks left to pledge this one at its most popular level of $80. No,
Yeah.
$110.
Hey, my pledge has overtaken the $80 one as the top pledge.
By a significant margin.
Yeah. So spoiler alert, I already backed this.
It's more Root.
Yeah, it's more Root. So this is the Marauder expansion. It is going to add 2 new factions: the Keepers in Iron, which are some
Badgers.
travelers from distant lands. They're like knights, itinerant knights that are badgers, and they are looking for relics and things to collect. And they do that by maintaining good contacts with all the different woodland critters. They have really great armor, which makes them very strong in battle. But to keep their forces supplied and mobile, they have to maintain a network of caravans and way stations. And like their component list shows that they've got 15 warriors, the 12 relics they're trying to get, 3 caravans and 5 way stations. So you kind of got to, like, you know, I'm assuming a little bit, keep your chain of caravans and way stations going, and that's where people can attack you to weaken your troops. Then the other one is the Lord of Hundreds. They are mice mobs.
Little mice mobs.
Micey mobs.
Yeah. Different than the Woodland Alliance mice mobs.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So they also have strongholds, and warriors and mobs and a warlord, and they seem to be all about raising heck. They claim to be the true voice of the woodland. The Lord of the Hundreds spreads distrust and division among the inhabitants, inciting mobs to destroy the enemies, and his army can overwhelm all but the toughest defenses. They loot items from the undeserving and add them to his towering horde. So, those are the 2 main factions that they add. They are also adding a bunch of other stuff.
So those 2 factions will be available print and play Thursday the 25th. So there's no real full details on them yet, as far as I'm aware, but that will be coming momentarily.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they are also adding these new hirelings, which are basically like miniature versions of factions that are specifically meant for like lower player counts, like 2 or 3 players. You can play with hirelings. So there's like the Forest Patrol, which are the cats, or the Last Dynasty, which is the Aries, the Outcast, which is, I don't know, maybe the Vagabond. The Spring
I think so.
Uprising is the Woodland Alliance. And then they have other ones for like some of the other expansions, like the River Folk Flotilla, the Warm Sun Prophets from the first expansion. And then if you pledge at the higher levels, then you can get stuff for, like, they've got the Moles, the Sunward Expedition, the Raven Spies, the Protector, the Traveling Band, all kinds of things. Rat Hireling and Badger Hirelings coming soon. And then at that $110 level that Jeff talked about, that is now the most popular pledge level, that includes all of that stuff, and then also Clockwork Expansion 2, which has new updated automated factions for everything in Riverfolk and Underworld, as well as new trait cards you can use to kind of change up the initial Clockwork factions to make them more interesting as well. So, yeah. Whole bunch of stuff. The hirelings are really what pushed me over the edge on this one. If it was just new factions and stuff, I don't know, on like another new map, I don't know if I would have went for it. But I really want to be able to play this like 2 players, like maybe get Megan into it, and I feel like the hirelings might be a good way to go about that. But even then, it might be too much of a attacky game for her to actually really commit to it. But I'd like to try nonetheless.
Have you mentioned landmarks?
I have not even mentioned landmarks. These are new landmarks. They're like little buildings that you can add to all 4 of Root's maps that are different things to fight over to gain control of. I didn't really see anything about like what you necessarily get by controlling them. It might be like in the one expansion map where like if you control that center spot, you get an extra victory point each round that you control it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I bet that's just something they're adding into. They show a little glimpse of them and in their video, but not much detail quite yet.
Indeed.
But it seems like they're releasing a bunch more stuff. Print and play for the new factions is Thursday the 25th. Print and play for the hirelings is a week following March 4th. So all the details about that stuff will be a week out. And it should be coming out in like a year? A little less than a year?
Yeah, probably sounds about right.
Yeah.
And big news, Root related. The Root app has officially added an undo button, which is...
Oh my god!
Very big. It has needed that since like day one.
Yeah. But between the 25th of February and March 11th, they have like 5 different playthroughs, designer chats, art talks, 2-player... Yeah, so in the next week, we'll get some more Root and details, but that has not stopped this from being almost $1 million Kickstarter already.
Bam.
Which launched, today. So, hooray.
Indeed.
We did it.
Huzzah.
We made Root a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. $110 of that is mine.
Last up on Kickstarter, Terraforming Mars, Aries Expedition. It's made a lot of money, $720,000 of its $20,000 goal, over 10,000 backers, and like a weekish left to pledge this one at its most popular level of $39.
Yeah. So this is actually Aries Expedition, the Terraforming Mars card game.
Sure.
According to the Kickstarter title.
Well,
But everywhere else it shows it as like Terraforming Mars Aries Expedition. So
the image shows it as Terraforming Mars Aries Expedition, the Terraforming Mars card game.
yes.
So this is a new standalone game in the Terraforming Mars universe because everything needs a universe these days. And it has solo and cooperative modes. But is ultimately a game for, and then they don't show.
1 to 4 players.
1 to 4 players.
60 minutes.
But is ultimately a game for 1 to 4 players.
I mean, it's ultimately Race for the Galaxy, but in Terraforming Mars. But
Yeah, with some other stuff.
Yeah. With Terraforming Mars stuff in it, you're right.
Uh-huh.
Yep. So
hey, look, you're talking to the person that when we did our games for replacing other games, I said that for me, Terraforming Mars replaced Race for the Galaxy. So
so now this has just come full circle.
Exactly.
So Jeff, you actually know how to play this one. Did you play it online or get taught it online?
No, I've just watched some videos of it and first looks and stuff.
And he's played Race for the Galaxy. So.
And I've played Race for the Galaxy before. So you have various phases: planning, resolving, terraforming, and a repeat. So, have you played Race for the Galaxy? Well, if you haven't, you choose one of 5 actions: construction, development, action, production, research, construction, development. If you choose that action, you get a special, extra, bonus. But also, everyone else just gets to do that action. That action, like construction, will let you play a blue card or red card, which in Terraforming Mars are kind of persistent actions with blue cards or a one-time big benefit. with a red card, like an event, like slamming an asteroid into the planet. Production lets you collect resources from your cards. Research lets you draw cards. But if you selected research, you draw 5 and discard 2. Does that sound familiar? Scouting? Was that scouting? What was it called in Race for the Galaxy? 1 and 2?
I don't remember. I don't remember any of the names of the cards.
Yeah.
Other than production.
Yeah. Like with production, it's like you gain mega credits equal to your terraform rating, but if you selected the production phase, you get an additional 4 mega credits. If you selected action, you may resolve one of your card actions twice, instead of just once. The terraform part is pretty similar. Like oxygen and temperature seem just about the same. They do have kind of like a purple, red, yellow, and white coloring to them, depending on how far up you get in them. There are still 9 ocean... There's still a board to this, by the way. It's not just a card game. But the board is just the tracker for your terraform rating, oxygen, temperature, and then ocean tiles. When you get an ocean tile, it's a little different. Normally when you place an ocean tile on the board, or like a city, or really any other tile, there would be some sort of bonus underneath. In this, when you flip the ocean tile, there is a bonus underneath. The 9 different ones seem to all be different bonuses, so you flip one of them at random, and you get one of those random 9 bonuses.
But they're not like super different, because like a couple of them are just like a plant and money. Some of them are like a card and money. Some are just money, and some are just plants.
Yeah,
so.
Like get 4 money, get 4 money, get 2 money and a plant, get 1 money and a plant, draw a card, get a plant, etc., etc., etc. The cards look better.
Yes.
To say the least. They look real similar. They read real similar to like the actual cards from Terraforming Mars, I guess?
Yes.
Like,
I would say so.
I'm sure there are some variances in them, but it's like you build a mine. It costs 10. You get a builder tag. When you play a builder tag, you pay 4 less mega credits for it, and it gives you 2 steel production, because you also have you have dual layer player boards where you will track your mega credits and thermal energy and plants and steel and titanium. But you won't have like a pool of steel or titanium units. Now I think you're just spending straight off of that track. So like if you had like 10, now you have like 9 when you have to spend it for like, 1 to 3 or whatever their conversion is for this. I doubt they would change that. But it's nice that they're dual layered. It's certainly better than just flat sheets of very thin.
It seems like they've learned from their mistakes.
Yeah.
In that it is. It seems like there's actual like consistent card art and like
it's
good,
art.
And it's art.
It's not just a picture of a dog.
As much as I love pets, I agree.
Maybe pets. Maybe they just keep the same picture.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't know. I don't see it. So
yeah, and I like how I always like it when like the image, the art is like the entire card, and then there are like things over it. I've always liked that style, so I like that they have that here. And then also, like you said, the boards, like there's actually some quality to the components. Unlike what Adrian would say. And then that
because the original Terraforming Mars components were perfect in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah. And then the fact that it's like $40. This seems like what a $40 game would be. I don't know. Like,
yeah. A Soletta is $30. Yeah. It gives you 5 thermal during the production phase. This produces 5 heat. Hooray. There's some add-ons. You can get card sleeves for the whole shebang. For like $30, you can get those metal resources that I think you need two of to get a full set, or at least it was for the base game. For $45, you can get neoprene mats. You can get 4 for $25, which isn't terrible.
Yeah, because that's the entire. I mean, yeah, you get 2 for like what is that, 15 or something
15?
like that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the mats do look good.
Yeah. Something to play on.
Yeah.
And if you don't own the regular Terraforming Mars, there's a bunch of the pledge levels where you can get the regular Terraforming Mars, including the big box
Yep.
pledge.
And when you pledge, you can optionally choose to get like a bunch of like bonus stuff from previous ones for regular Terraforming Mars.
Yeah,
and
like the
all kinds of
promos
stuff.
they run, or there's like promo packs that you've done with the old Kickstarters, so you'll be able to get access to those. There's no real stretch goals. It's sort of just they're like, it's day 1, it's day 2, it's day 3, and we have unlocked all these things.
Yep. Which is sort of what they do.
Yeah,
feel
it's
like.
what they've done for a bunch of them. It's
Yeah.
like, yep, you're going to get a bunch of promo cards, and then these are previews of them that we will release over the duration of the Kickstarter.
Indeed.
$40. Shipping's not fantastic, but it never has been.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Running you $11 to $370.
Jesus
Oh my God. Yeah.
Christ.
Well, that's corporate investor, which is the.
The way,
Yeah.
like, a bunch of copies, I think. Right?
It's fucking literally everything. It's
No. Yeah.
bonkers.
Oh God. No. It is just. It's just the get one of everything, and it costs $300. I thought it was the like here's 6 of something. I forgot they didn't. They didn't do that on this one.
no.
So yeah, no. $370. Don't be in whatever
Rest
the
of the
rest of the
world.
world is. Yeah.
For your already $263
Exactly. Yeah.
pledge, that is now more than doubled
Mm-hmm.
with shipping cost. But if you're in the
Indeed.
US, $37
Yeah.
for that
Yep.
huge pledge. But this $39 pledge turns into $50 with shipping. So, hey, you know what? At least they actually posted their shipping
Ugh.
prices.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't decide if I actually want to get this one or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have it
Like
backed
part
right
of me
now,
is like,
but yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I do too, and I really like Race for the Galaxy, and I really like Terraforming Mars, but I don't know if I need a game that smashes the two of them together.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'll have to think on it a little bit more over the course of the next week.
yep.
So yeah,
That's it.
that's Aries Expedition, which wraps up our news and Kickstarter segment.
Indeed.
Moving over to listener feedback, we have no listener feedback. Bum, bum, bum. If you want to give us some listener feedback, there are a bunch of different ways to do so. You can send us emails.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can find us over on Twitter, where I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We have an Instagram account, Instagram @MHGameGuys. Additionally, we want to thank our continued sponsors, Gray Fox Games, for their sponsorship of the show. Their latest Kickstarter, Ragnarocks, is out on Kickstarter right now, already funded. 40,000 of its $20,000 goal for that one. Almost 1,000 backers. 3 weeks to go. We will have our in-depth coverage of this 2-player game from the designer of Santorini in next week's news and Kickstarter, because this one was already super, super jam-packed. So, yeah. We've talked a little bit about it and what you can expect in some of our other sponsorship spots in previous episodes, and we'll have that full rundown of the Kickstarter next week. But go check out Ragnarocks right now, live on Kickstarter from Gray Fox Games. Jeff, do you have a prepared statement for us?
Of course. Gray Fox Games, quality games, cleverly crafted. Also, sometimes, even though you know it's a losing battle, you just have to fight or be damned. A narrow chance is still a chance.
Indeed. Well, I think that pretty much wraps everything up. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm 5,000-year-old Jeff.
Bye.
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 Punchboard Media,
where we all
bring something
to the table.
pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.